Hey everyone. Today we're going to learn how to create an estimate. So, as always, estimates live in our opportunities. And from these opportunities, we can create an estimate to send to the client for approval. And then from there, from this estimate, we can then create a project. So we can convert this estimate to a project and all of the financial information from this estimate. So this particular estimate body will get transferred over to the financials of the project and become the budget. Now, as always, the estimate already comes with a cover image and team info, scope of work, payment schedule, contract attachment, and approvals. But today we're going to be really working on the estimate in and of itself. I do go through each and every one of these in our estimates overview video. So if you want to check that out, you definitely can. But otherwise, you can essentially manipulate this information at any time you want to. You can also create estimate defaults if you'd like. So that information like the cover image, the scope of work, and the contract all are templated so that you can just bring them over to each estimate and fill out the information that you need. To start, we'll add an item to the estimate. So we already start with a blank item that you can literally just start to add if you'd like. If you've already added in a price book or price book items, you can also just choose to pull items from the price book. When you do this, one of the things that'll happen is you won't see this item delete. So if you want to get rid of that, you can add your items from your price book and then simply delete this one. The other option is using copy from another estimate. So I like this option because if you have other estimates that are very similar to the jobs that you normally do, you can literally just pull information from those estimates to reuse in this one. So it's a really nice option if you have things like another new construction that you want to pull the exact same information from and just finagle the costs here. We'll start by adding in a line item, and I'm just going to choose to edit this line item right here. Now, one of the things is when you click on the line item name, the nice thing about this is that you can either simply start typing in a name or you can search through your price book. So again, if you have price book items here, you can definitely just start typing in something and it will pull that. Otherwise, you can just continue to type and you don't have to use a price book item at all, just like so. Then I can choose my cost code. The cost codes, again, are kind of like an account that this item belongs to and is tracked under. What cost codes and cost categories do is they actually really nicely organize your information and categorize it for you so it's easier for you to look through and see. Um, Clients don't see any information about cost codes or anything like that, so these things are really just for you. Now, again, you have a search in the cost codes. So if I want to, I can really quickly add my painting supplies to my painting, either in the finished trades or just in a general painting. I can then choose what this is. Since this is supplies, I'm probably going to choose materials, but feel free to choose flat fee, labor, materials, selections, or subcontractor. Now, the difference between all of these is flat fee removes the unit as well as subcontractor. So a lot of people, especially subcontractors, they might get paid via the job. And so in this case, if they're going to be doing like painting supplies and we're charging this as a subcontractor, there may not be units here. It may just be due to the subcontractor, or this money might be due back to the subcontractor. So this is a really easy way for you to track that. Selections are actually estimated prices that you're going to be using for your finishing choices. So you'll notice that selections don't have a unit, they don't have tax, they don't have a quantity or anything like that. They just have an allowance. And essentially the allowance is like a placeholder amount. This is what you think you might spend on this particular item or category for your selections. We'll choose materials, and then for the painting supplies, I'll just choose each. One of the things I like to talk about is this tax right here will typically be a percentage until you choose an estimated tax rate down here. As always, your tax rates are available in your settings right here, and you can choose to edit those tax rates at any point in time. by simply going to your financial and then clicking on manage tax settings. This is where you can add any default tax rates that you typically and normally use. So if it's a materials for me, since I live in Colorado, I'm going to tax that. And then the quantity plus the unit cost is what makes up this cost factor right here. So let's say I just need like a couple of painting supplies, in all honestly, and they're about $5 each. So as you can see, the cost right now is $5, but as I adjust this quantity, you'll notice that the cost changes. Finally, you'll have the ability to add an individual markup to the price, which the markup plus the cost is what creates the price. So as you can see that there's zero markup right here, so the price is 50. But if I added a price here, or if I added a markup here, you'll notice that it changes the price and it doesn't change the cost. And that's because cost plus markup equals price. If you don't use something like an individual markup, you can always add a management fee down here. The management fee options that we have are no management fee, which means that you're not going to be using any type of management fee, and any markups that you do will be done here individually. The cost plus management fee, where you can optionally add in a percentage, and this percentage is calculated based on the subtotal right here. So as this subtotal rises, this total right here will also rise. And then finally, the fixed fee. Fixed fee is a one-time fee, essentially saying that it has nothing to do with the subtotal. It is just going to take the subtotal, it'll add whatever fixed fee you put in here, and then your tax, and finally giving you a total. So it's not dynamic, kind of like the cost plus percentages. If I add in 10% here, and then I create another line item, let's just do an architect. You'll notice that this changes quite a bit because this is a 10% off of this entire subtotal right here. Whereas if you just chose a fixed fee of $100, no matter what I change here, it's not going to change this fee right there. Additionally, you can add from the price book. So if you want to add items from your price book, we have a really awesome feature within BuildBook called tags. You'll notice that on some of my price book items here, I have little tags, and they are denoted by this little tiny tag icon right there. So I can choose, since this is a new construction, I can choose to basically group all of the items that I need under that new construction tab. And when I want to, I can just click on that and it will select all of the items for me in here that are choosing or that have that particular tag. One of the things that a lot of people get tripped up on is that when they do this, they'll see that it checks the items, but it doesn't condense the list down for you, and that is by design. Again, we want you to be able to choose as much information as possible with as little clicks as possible. So if I wanted to, I would be able to go in and choose another tag. Maybe I need to choose another couple of tags, things like that. Or maybe I just want to go through and choose a few more items to add to this particular estimate, and I can go through and do that at any point in time just by scrolling through the list, whereas most of these will already be selected for me because I've chosen those tags. I can then add these items to the estimate just by clicking on add 67 items, and then you'll notice that all of the items populate into my estimate, and any item that I had marked as taxed within my price book is already marked as tax here. Any item that I've added with a price will also show up here. So for example, you'll see this one right here, the building permit is already a flat fee and it was already set at $350. That will carry over, but feel free to change that at any point in time. Finally, we also have copy from another estimate, which is a really great feature. Again, maybe you have another estimate that you've already worked on that is very similar to this one, and you really just want to grab the items from that estimate. All you have to do is select the opportunity, click on copy, and it will copy in the items or any item that was on that estimate for you. It's not meant to overwrite information, so that's the one thing I do like to tell people is that if you're doing this, It's not going to overwrite any of the information for you. It's essentially just going to add it down here at the very bottom for you. As far as managing the estimate, if you want to, you can always remove items just by clicking on the little ellipsis menu right next to them as long as you're in spreadsheet view and choosing delete item. If you choose to work out of category view, which reorganizes everything into your cost categories right here, and you want to delete something, then all you'll have to do is click on the item, click on the ellipsis menu, and delete the item. Additionally, there's a really nice feature here as well. This is in the ellipsis menu, either in the category or the spreadsheet view, and it allows you to copy any items to your price book. So maybe you've spent a lot of time on your estimate and now you want to copy those same items over to your price book. Instead of having to reinvent them in your price book, all you have to do is use this copy to price book. And what it'll do is allow you to copy that item over to your price book to reuse over and over again. It will copy the item just as you see it. So if you want to remove anything, you'll have to go into the price book to manage that and remove it. But otherwise, it will copy over all of the information, including the description for you. I'm going to delete that one as it's a duplicate for me. And this is what our estimate ends up looking like after it's all kind of filled out and done. And then you can fill out your individual prices. I like to, whenever I'm editing my estimate, I actually like to work out of the spreadsheet view. It's my favorite to work out of because I can really easily go through and manage and change information. I can go through and delete items or copy them to the price book at any point in time. I can also move them around here. Now, one of the things I do want to say about moving items around how they are in the spreadsheet view is the estimates are designed to move everything or categorize everything into a category view when you click on preview and share. So even though I'm in spreadsheet view now, once I click on preview and share, what you'll notice is that the estimate is now set up within your category items right here. So it's going to basically recategorize everything into your cost categories. Now, one of the things that you'll notice is that when you do this, if you want to choose something for spreadsheet view and you want maybe this item to start first, you can definitely move those items around. But again, once you go to the preview and share, it's going to break your items back out by the cost category. So you won't be able to necessarily move around individual items through whole cost categories. It will be the entire cost category itself. Once you're done creating your estimate body, you'll have the ability to add a payment schedule. The payment schedule does not come over to the project when the estimate is converted. And the reason being is because estimates are estimated pricing. And although a lot of our pros do usually keep a lot of their estimated pricing and don't usually change things, there is the propensity for things to change. It wouldn't be construction if they didn't. And so in that case, what we like to do is we added in the payment schedule so that you can clearly define to your clients when payments could be expected and about how much they will be. But because this is an estimate, it's not set in stone, and therefore you won't be able to actually carry this over to the budget. Budget payments also in the budget are actually set up as invoices. So again, this payment schedule right here is just a reflection of what the client might be doing and what they might be needing to pay, but otherwise it has nothing to do with the project in and of itself. Again, you can add in your contract, your scope of work, and templatize those. You can add in any attachments. So again, here's a really nice area where you can add in any of the drawings for the project. Maybe you want to add in some additional evidence of why a charge might be a certain way or something like that. You can add all of these items in here. And when you do, what actually ends up happening is when you go to preview and share this estimate, these attachments won't preview like this, but what you will be able to do is download them. Finally, you'll have your approvals down here. If you want to send your approval to the client and you want them to sign for it, you can keep this toggled on. And when you send your estimate over to the client to approve, they'll be able to sign for this and you'll get the exact same information down here. Who was the client, what date did they sign it, and what was the IP address, which is basically their location and where they were when they signed it. Additionally, you'll have the option to either draw your signature or type it in just like I did. And then finally, you'll have an activity feed here down at the bottom of the estimate that kind of allows you some information to see when the estimate was created. Are there versions created that were deleted? When was the estimate emailed out? Anything like that. When you're ready, you can share your estimate. And the way to do that is clicking on Preview and Share. And then really quickly before you click on Publish Estimate, I would definitely handle any of the client visibility things that you want to. So what I like to do is just scroll down to the estimate and take a look at what information I personally don't want my clients to see. I don't need them to see quantity and unit price. So I can leave the price for the items, or I can literally remove that as well. I can click on Apply Changes, and what they'll see is essentially the categories and then the price here instead. If I didn't want them to see any of that, I could move this over to the summary. I can remove the descriptions and click on Apply Changes. They won't see anything but a list of items, and then finally at the bottom, they'll see a total. So feel free to play around with client visibility as you see fit. And anytime you want to see a new option, just click on Apply Changes there. The only way to send out an approval for an estimate is to have that estimate published. One of the things that I wanted or that I discussed in the estimates overview video is that if you have multiple draft versions, our estimates are only designed to show you the most current version, including if it's in draft, published, approved, or declined. It doesn't matter what version it's in or what status it's in, the most current version is what is going to be shown to you. And in that case, in order to send that most current version out, you'll have to publish it, and then you can share your estimate with your client for approval. Once your client does approve an estimate or declines an estimate, the person who is the owner of the estimate will actually get, or the owner of the opportunity will actually get the notification that the client has approved or declined the estimate. We don't send out those approvals or declinations to anybody else outside the owner because this is the person taking care of this particular opportunity and estimate, and that's the person who needs to know the most. There is no way to add additional people as owners to the estimate. You'll only be able to add one. And so you want to make sure whoever is marked as this owner is the person who will be able to completely take care of the estimate and work off of those notifications. Finally, if you do want to make a new version of an estimate or an identical version of an earlier estimate, you definitely can do that. The easiest way to do that is to click on the version or the original version, and then click on Make a New Version here if it's published. And if you don't see that button, you can click on Make a New Version here, and it's going to make an identical version of the one that you were originally looking at. So my version 1 had nothing in it, as you can see. And now my version 3 also has nothing in it. So if I wanted to really quickly start back from scratch without having to delete everything, I could do that really easily by just clicking on that version with nothing and recreating it into a new version that I can now edit. If you ever get stuck on anything with estimates, feel free to click on this question mark help icon in the top right corner of BuildBook to be directed to our real-time chat. Happy building!